Hi, my name is Lisa from the blog Farmhouse on Boone, where I like to share food from scratch, natural living in a handmade home. One thing I really love making in the farmhouse is fermented foods. Sauerkraut, kimchi, water kefir, and homemade milk kefir, which is what I'm going to show you today. So I'm going to start with some milk kefir that has been fermenting for approximately 36 hours and show you how I strain off the milk kefir grains and then make a new batch. So there is no exact science on how long you should ferment milk kefir. It depends on your preference, how many grains you have, the temperature in your house. There are so many variables. Whether you're using raw milk, whether you're using pasteurized milk, the variables there make it to where you just kind of need to put it in the milk, put the grains in the milk, see when it reaches your desired level of sourness, and go from there. So in my family, we do like it pretty thick. In the summer, I try not to go more than 48 hours because it'll get really thick. In the winter, a lot of times 48 hours is perfect just because the house is so much cooler that the fermentation process happens a lot more slowly. So as you can see in this jar, this is raw milk from a local dairy, and you can see this yellow ring here. That is the whey starting to separate from the milk, and that happens when you ferment something. And also you can see the cream has risen to the top because this milk isn't homogenized, and the rest of the milk kefir is left to the bottom. Nothing is bad about this. It could have sat longer. There'd be bigger pockets of whey separating, and that would be totally fine too. So I'm going to show you how I strain it off and the thickness. So I've been making a half gallon at a time for a while now. Sometimes I even make more. So because of that, I use a large strainer. You could use something smaller if you're doing more like a quart or a pint at a time. I cannot find my larger bowl, but I used to have a bigger bowl than this. I like to use glass or stainless steel. It doesn't really matter. I have this plastic strainer just because I like these holes better than my other strainer. Some people say not to let kefir grains interact with metal for the amount of time that you'd be actually having them interact. I've never seen any negative results from using a spoon or something else. I've been using these kefir grains for probably 6+ years. They multiply constantly. I've probably had gallons upon gallons upon gallons of kefir grains at this point. So I always will get rid of some and then continue on because you never want too many in here or it'll ferment way too fast. So I'll show you. The amount I have in here now is actually pretty perfect. So I put my strainer over a big bowl, ideally a larger bowl than this, but I can make this one work. And I just, see, that's why. I just kind of push around until the kefir falls through the holes and into the bowl below. This is just a great way to do a lot at a time. Sometimes I even use my large stock pot, but right now I have soup in it, so I can't do that. I'm just going to keep pushing the kefir and grains around until all the kefir has gone through the holes and into the bowl below. And then I'll be left with my grains here in my strainer. And I can show you what they look like and what it's all supposed to look like. So like I said, you can leave it a lot longer. The stuff is very hard to mess up. I've had these grains for years and I've never killed them. I have constantly made kefir though, the entire time. There's been times, maybe for a couple weeks or a month, like in the beginning of pregnancy, with food aversions, where I've put them in some milk in the refrigerator and they've lasted just fine through that. They're very resilient. I ship them all over the country to people who buy off my extras and never have problems there. They're resilient. Now a lot of times if you're buying kefir grains, the first couple batches aren't going to be very good as they're readjusting to a new environment and new milk, but that's to be expected. So I'm going to do a close-up of these grains so you can see what they look like and how many I have in this bowl. And this just fermented a half gallon of milk in approximately 36 hours. I'm also going to do a close-up of the thickness of the kefir, and then I'll explain what we like to do with it and how I'm going to go on to make another batch. Okay, so for the next batch, I'm going to go ahead and put my grains into some more milk. We have been using raw milk from a local dairy for 8 years now. I love raw milk. It has many benefits, very healthy. That's obviously a controversial topic, and you can research it on your own, and I recommend that you do. For our family, that's what we're comfortable with. You can ferment pasteurized milk. The results won't be as thick and nice because there's just so many beneficial bacteria already in the milk and so many enzymes and things that are killed off during pasteurization. With the raw milk, it's all still available, and they are very nutritive to the grains. They will multiply a lot faster, and you'll end up with just a better product, but that's not to say you can't do it, of course, with with pasteurized milk, which the stuff you buy at the store, if you buy, Lifeway Kefir, that of course has been pasteurized, and it still has the beneficial bacteria available in the finished product. So great way to go if you're not comfortable with raw milk, or if you can't find it. In a lot of states it's illegal, or you can't find a local farmer that does it or that you're comfortable with, so those are all issues to consider. I'm going to show you just how simple it is to make milk kefir. I am simply going to take some grains that I have sitting here and that I just strained off the last batch and add them to fresh milk. And I'm going to put the lid on loosely, which will just allow any gases to escape that are a natural byproduct of fermentation. And I'm going to set it out on my counter. With the temperatures right now around 77 in the house, but we keep our AC on. This should be nice and fermented in about 24 hours. I'll probably leave it 36, 48, depending on when we need it. It'll just get thicker and more sour, but that's totally fine with us. I will end up moving this down the counter, and that's because I have some sauerkraut fermenting here, and then I usually keep my sourdough starter over here. I try to keep all my ferments evenly spaced along my counter so that none of the beneficial bacteria that are present in each of them interact with the other. So I'm going to pour this kefir that we just made into this, cap it, put it in the refrigerator, and then it'll be all ready to go. So what do we do with it? Normally we just make smoothies with it, honestly. We blend up frozen strawberries, frozen bananas, frozen blueberries. Sometimes we'll put it in popsicle molds and make popsicles, but the daily smoothie is the most typical way that we use our milk kefir. I'm actually going to go ahead and grab a strainer because I don't want to pour this all over my countertop. I don't normally use a funnel, but I figure if I'm doing this in front of the camera, I might mess up. So less mess is better. So this is how we get our daily probiotics. That and fermented sauerkraut, sourdough, all of these ways we love to give our gut that beneficial bacteria. I hope you can see how easy it is to make homemade milk kefir and make your own probiotics, and how not intimidating it is. It is such a simple part of our routine, just straining off grains and adding it to new milk and then making smoothies. So simple, not hard at all. Sounds intimidating, but it isn't. And I hope that you will enjoy making your own milk kefir. Please be sure to subscribe to my channel, Farmhouse on Boone, for food from scratch, natural living in a handmade home. And be sure to stop by the blog, farmhouseonboone.com, to see what's going on at the farmhouse.